Hey there. I wanted to share that I am starting my 10th year homeschooling my children this year. I cannot believe that we've been homeschooling for a decade, or working on a decade. And there's just been so many lessons learned, so many blessings. There are some things, some advice that if I could go back in time and give myself, I definitely, would. Um, my best advice going in my 10th year of homeschooling is to not try to create public school at home. And that's hard. That was really hard for me. Public school is what I did, and it's what I know. Um, my grandmother was a public school teacher. Um, My husband is a public school teacher. Some of my best friends are public school teachers. And when I started homeschooling, I wanted the routine of a public school. I would try to schedule my day around what their structured school day looked like. Now, I wish I could go back, and I just think of all the fun things I missed out on, like um, something coming up. And I would be like, well, no, we have school. Absolutely, we can't. And I had freedom that I didn't take advantage of. I could have gone, do the fun thing. I mean, that's one of the blessings. For one, my kids were so young. Like, kids are at school 8 hours or longer. We didn't need that. And I just I missed out on a lot of just fly by the seat of my pants kind of moments. And so I wish I could go back and just be a little bit more relaxed in that. Homeschool does not have to look like public school because it's not. I know some states have different laws and all. I'm in Texas, we really don't. But even with all that, there's so much freedom. I've just learned that I can be flexible, even as my boys have grown, and uh, very much more is required of them, as compared to when they were younger. But man, we still have so much freedom in our schedule, and that's just such a huge blessing. And I think back, when my kids were little and my husband was a football coach, and he's coached different sports, but he's done baseball, he's done basketball, track. So I feel like every season, pretty much, at some point in my children's lives, he was busy in season with his sport that he would coach. So a lot of it, when the kids were younger, he never got to go to their sports things. I mean, on the occasion if he was off, but high school football coaches, I mean, they work nights and then they're gone on the weekends. And um, it just took a lot of time. And so, one way that homeschooling really helped my family is that my kids didn't have to go to bed so early to wake up to get to school on time. I could keep them awake and they could wait for dad to get home and have some time with him, and then I would allow them to sleep in. And so that was just such a huge benefit. That's just one of the huge ways that homeschool has benefited my family. Another piece of advice is don't get caught up in comparison. Comparison in anything really is just a joy thief. I struggled with comparison, especially one of my boys took longer to read. And so I would just listen to any and all advice on how to become a good reader, how to teach reading. Whatever somebody's advice would be, I would take it and just run with it. And I would just, try all the things. I would jump from curriculum to curriculum. I would pretty much do whatever advice was given to me because I just felt like I was failing my child. And I didn't want him to be behind or struggle. That's a huge one that if I could go back and tell myself something to do differently, it would be don't compare. And, with his struggles with reading, I took it as I'm not a good teacher. I'm not qualified. I don't know what I'm doing. And, you know, now he is a reader, thank goodness. But I just wish I could go back and say, don't compare, just focus on progress. I was just always worried that he was behind. And I heard somebody, I don't remember who it was, maybe a podcast or a convention, but they were talking about being behind. And they kind of came back with, well, behind whom? Like, what are you basing your normal at? And I thought, okay, and that's so true. My oldest son went to public school, and, he wasn't like the top of his class. He was just, I would say, average. He had, definite strengths and definite struggles during schooling. Um, but if he struggled in something, I never thought, oh, well, that teacher's just terrible, or that teacher needs to get her act together. She needs to learn to teach my kid better. Um, no, we don't do that. We think more of, okay, I need to get my child this help, or, what can I do to make sure that my child is learning and progressing? But I guess the difference is when it fell on me and I already was new at homeschool, some people just weren't completely, I'm not going to say they weren't supportive, but you could tell homeschooling was scary for some people in our life. And I'll let that maybe indicate to me whether or not I was doing a good job. So I viewed it as, oh, well, I'm just a terrible teacher of reading. When in reality, my child just learned different than my other child. And I just really wished I would have focused on the fact that, we're learning, he's learning, and just keep doing what we're doing because it is working. Maybe slower pace than what, my other children or his peers are catching on to reading. I don't know why I looked at it as I'm failing him instead of we just need to learn it differently. I wish I could go back and tell myself that. I would have had a lot more peace during those years. My number 3 advice would be to trust your instincts. Um, if something is working, stick to it. Like, I don't know. I had FOMO, I guess. I would hear the next cool curriculum or hear about, all the things. There's so much curriculum, so much, co-ops, and there's just so much offered now, which is so wonderful. But like if something was working perfectly for us and I would hear of something else, I would just jump ship and try that. And 9 times out of 10, I was like, why did I do that? So I would say trust your instincts. And if things are working, like your routine, your schedule, your curriculums, stick to it. New is not always better. Sometimes old is better. Another piece of advice that I would give myself is to say yes to more life experiences. I tend to like my comfort zone, and my kids are like me in that. They like their comfort zone, but we are going to step out of that this year more. I have different things planned. I would like to do more stuff with our friends. I have a handful of homeschooling friends now. We do have different groups, and I know there's a lot of homeschoolers. I just haven't stepped up and been bold to, make that, to be a part of that. And I really want to try that this year more. Now we have just a lot of curriculum, not changes, but I just feel like more is going to be required from my children, especially like in science with a lab. Like we've had little experiments and stuff. But our new science curriculum has like a whole lab and just things like that that we're really going to have to figure out how to kind of incorporate our new schedule. And so I know that there's going to be a learning curve there. I don't want to just go overboard and try to do all the things, but I do want to add a little bit more just outings. I just want them to just be involved more, like homeschool group. I want to get more involved in like the boys and the youth at church. And then with golfing, I'm going to start doing some tournaments. So their first one is scheduled this month. And they're so scared, but they're so excited. And I'm excited for them. I mean, it is going to be uh, just the learning curve of it. We've never done this before. And, but I'm excited. And I'm proud of them that they're brave enough to go for it. My fifth piece of advice would be to really nurture your community and your support system. That's one thing as my kids are hitting that, middle, upper grade, that I'm finding that's kind of hard because when they were younger, they played all the like little league football, basketball, baseball, all that kind of stuff. And so we were a part of a group. We were always a part of a team. So that's one thing as they've gotten older and they're too old to like participate in little league things. Or two, just that their interest has changed. Like they didn't even want to play baseball last year. And I just couldn't believe it, honestly. But they're like, no, we would rather do the golf. So it was good. But it also meant that, they're not at school with their friends. And so they would see it at those sporting events. And without that, it's hard to just stay in contact or keep those friendships close. So that's been kind of a hard thing. That's something that actually I am going to focus on this year. I'm really excited about the golf tournaments. My boys do have some friends that do play golf, and I know their families, and a couple of them go to our church. So I'm just looking forward to just building that relationship and just that stuff's important. And, you don't realize how important it is until you don't have it. And, you know, the main reason we don't have it is just life. We're not going to the sports, so I'm not seeing my friends that I would see there. They're not seeing their friends. There's just been kind of a struggle, and that's one thing that I'm looking forward to working on this year is just kind of reaching out more, building those relationships. I would love to hear what experiences that you've learned along your journey of homeschooling as well. So that is just five of the things that I've learned over my decade of being a homeschool mom. Really looking forward to this year. I can't believe we're 10 years in. It's crazy, and I know it's going to fly by. So I'm just really looking forward to all the different things, and I hope that you're having a good week. I would love it if you would hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. I hope you're having a really good day, and I just thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.